Let's talk about the inferiority of all women containers specific to helping women inspire men, attract devotion from men. Now, I want to preface this by saying that I am not disparaging, every aspect of all women containers, right? And talking about courses and programs and everything. There's lots of great all women containers for a lot of different reasons, healing trauma and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not saying there's nothing wrong, or sorry, I'm not saying that that everything is wrong with them. There's lots of great all women containers out there. But here's what I am saying is that if a woman is joining a program, a container, to learn how to attract devotion, inspire devotion from men, to fully shift into her feminine, to use feminine communication, then an all-women container is a really terrible way to go, right? I'm going to give you an example, like how ridiculous this really is. So I learned most of what I've learned about women, right, to get really to really work on myself as a man. Not everything, but most of what I've learned was by going out and talking to women and getting rejected by women, going to bars and talking to women on the sidewalk and all that kind of stuff. And what happened? I got a lot of feedback about where I am as a man, right? Where I am weak, where I am not taking charge, where I am not being dominant, where I am, where my insecurities are, right? How did I learn? For the most part, obviously I learned a lot in my marriage too, but for the most part, I learned to become a man by interacting with women, right? They gave me all of this incredible feedback without having to teach me anything, just by getting rejected and seeing how they're responding to me, and seeing how attracted women are to me or not, how turned off they are to me, and getting that feedback over and over again. And the idea of like an all-woman container to learn how to attract men is like learning how to meet women by being in a all men's group and jerking off on each other, right? Like, it's silly. Like, I'm not going to get the feedback that I need. It's not that I won't learn anything. It's that it's unbelievably inefficient to actually learn everything that I need to know about women. And so it's the exact same thing. So in an all-women container, right, where you got all these women with all these different ideas about, how to be feminine. I'm going to just, briefly talk about that, like the misunderstandings and distortions that most women have and most women coaches have, right? And again, I'm not disparaging everybody. There's some amazing women coaches, even ones that teach polarity, but in general, there's a lot of that, right? And so you're in this container where you're getting no actual feedback from men, and it's just a bunch of women essentially jerking off on each other. And I really want women to understand this, because women, first of all, women really need to feel safe, right? They need to feel safe in a container. And obviously there's a lot of reasons why women are going to feel safer in a all women container, right? But the problem is now you're not getting the actual feedback that you need to learn about yourself, right? Because where is that feedback where's it going to come from? It's going to come from men, because we are going to feel instantly when you are actually in your feminine versus when you are when you're trying to control, when you're trying to lead. And I mean, not all men, but some men know how to lead a woman out of it, right? And so I want to talk about how unbelievably different the academy is in this respect, right? Because when we first started the academy, so it's our 6-month program for men and women, we actually had the men and women separate. And that was because that's kind of what everybody's doing, right? And of course, the women's container is still being led by men, but otherwise there is no male clients. And we ended up making a choice, which at the time was like, oh my God, this could ruin everything if this doesn't work well, where we combined both the men and women together. They had totally separate curriculums, right? The videos and stuff that they're watching, totally different things that they're learning how to do. The women were learning on to let go, use feminine communication, open up their hearts, be vulnerable, and allow themselves to be led and move through their trauma. The men were learning how to step up, stop softening themselves, become increasingly dominant in their communication and in their energy, and be able to lead, right? Be able to lead a woman. And the problem is they were learning all of that in isolation from each other and still making incredible shifts, right? But the much bigger shifts are when we combined it together, right? Because I mean, in hindsight, it's like that was the most obvious thing to do in the world, where men and women are learning from each other, and not just like answering questions and stuff like that, but actually interacting with each other on live streamed calls, doing role plays, right? Where the men are working on becoming increasingly dominant and actually leading the entire call from start to finish. And the women are learning to fully let go of control and just, be able to act on faith and to express their feelings, or, other forms of feminine communication if there's anything that's going on. And so what's going to happen when you got men who are working on becoming dominant and women who are working on becoming radiant, and you put them together on a call? Well, now all of this stuff, you start to see where their weaknesses are, right? Because sometimes the men won't be dominant enough, and then the women, like a woman, will feel kind of uncomfortable, and she'll be like, maybe we should do another role play, right? And what is that? That's leading, right? That's subtle leadership there. And a woman needs to become aware of that and check herself and be like, oh, whoa, I'm leading, right? I'm trying to control things because I feel uncomfortable, and realize that what she needs to do is shift and be like, just say like, I feel uncomfortable. I don't know what to do right now. I feel awkward. I feel anxious, right? And the man needs to, first of all, step up and increasingly be dominant so that a woman doesn't even feel that way. But when she does communicate in a more masculine way, he needs to be like, hey, you're leading right now, or you're resisting right now, or you're maybe blaming right now, or you're inhibiting yourself right now. Let's work on that, and moving her into letting go of control and becoming more vulnerable. And that's going to come from not just his leadership, but him actually taking charge and being like, oh, I gotta be more dominant for this woman, right? I need to become a better leader for her. And the woman is going to be like, oh, I just need to let go of control and just have faith. And so now the man and woman are learning from each other. The way that men and women were supposed to learn polarity, right, is like learning how to be in a relationship as a single person. Like, how silly would that be, right? And I can think of all these women. It's usually women. I think it's just because women are talking more. They're more open with everything that they're doing, who say, I'm just like doing all this work on myself, right? I'm not going to be in relationships. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, of course, you can actually heal stuff on your own. But then the funny part is, not so funny, kind of tragic. They do all this work for years, and then they get back into a relationship, and then most of the same bullshit happens again, right? The same pattern, because it's so difficult to heal all of this stuff on your own, right? Like, that's why relationships, that's why people relating to each other, men and women relating with each other, is so awesome, because it brings up all of your stuff, right? That's so cool. That's why relationships are so cool. That's why monogamy is so cool, so that you can't just avoid it and go have sex with other women, and women have sex with other men and avoid your shit, right? Is when men and women are together, and all of that stuff comes up to the surface, and then you can see it, right? And when you have a man and a woman, like, this is the best. A man and a woman where the woman is like, I'm all in. I'm going to fully just work on myself. Like, I'm so, like, all I care about is becoming responsible and letting go of control and learning to trust and being open with my feelings. And the man is like, oh, all I care about is becoming dominant, and like, I just want my woman, like a woman, to feel safe and and protected and cared for, so she can just fully let go. And I just want to be able to lead her into all of her trauma and help her, like support her in healing, and just provide that space for her, that masculine container for her. When both man and woman are at that level of self-responsibility and competency, right? Like they actually know what they should be doing. And the man's helping by leading the woman, and the woman is helping the man, but without trying to, because if she's trying, then it's masculine. But she's helping him by being honest with her feelings, so that the man can check himself and be like, ooh, maybe I should step up more. Maybe I should be more dominant and lead, right? When both man and woman are together that way, it's so amazing, right? The growth is so rapid and transformational, and so much trust is built, and so much understanding happens, and so many shifts happen, and so many fears are moved through in an unbelievably short period of time, right? And that is the true power of a container, where both men and women are learning everything that they need to know about polarizing themselves and healing themselves, and then come together and interacting and learning from each other in this beautiful way, right? And that's, I mean, there's many great things to say about the Academy and how powerful it is for men and women. But I really think that having combined both men and women together and allowing them to interact this way and have role plays, you know, role play out scenarios where there's conflict and stuff, and just having the men lead those calls and the women just let go and be led on those calls, that's the most, that's why I think that the Academy is literally the most transformational program in the entire world. I really do believe that. I don't think there's anything else that exists on this level that creates this level of transformation this quickly. And a big part of it is because we've combined both men and women together in this very interactive way, where they are actually doing live streams and together, and we're seeing it, and everybody's learning from each other, seeing everyone else's mistakes. And it's so supportive and it's so loving, you know, where everybody is just, you know, trying their best to be so responsible. And the men are trying so hard to be like the best, create the best containers possible. And the women are trying so hard to be respectful to the masculine. It's amazing, right? It's like, no wonder these shifts happen so quickly for men and women in the Academy this way. This is how all polarity containers should be. They really should. And I really want to find more people who realize this, who realize like, no, I'm done learning in these gender specific containers and getting a very, not no transformation, but limited transformation compared to what I could be getting. I want to go all the way with this. I want to know how to actually interact with the opposite sex and get this immediate feedback and feel actually what it's like, right? And feel my own stuff that's coming up in real time and shift through it, right? I want men and women like that. Right? Those are the men and women who really know they're willing to go all the way and stop playing these games with themselves, staying on the hamster wheel, the self-improvement hamster wheel of staying safe, right? This is where the massive growth happens, right? This is where the huge transformation happens. If you're at that place where you're like, yeah, I know, of course, that makes so much sense. Like, I wish something like this existed 20 years ago. Well, I mean, yeah, it's too bad it didn't, but it does now, right? And if you're really serious about this change, you're really committed and you're willing to be courageous, right? Because this is scary. And that's the point, is moving you through all this discomfort and fear. You're willing to be that courageous and you want a solution like this. Great. Send me a private message on Facebook and let's talk about whether the Academy is right for you and if it can transform all of your problems, right, in your love life. And so that you can become the radiant woman that can inspire a man's devotion, or as a man, you can be, you know, a dominant man that commands a woman's respect and submission instantly, right, effortlessly, because that's how we're programmed to be. Send me a private message and let's talk.